I looked over and saw there was no door handle. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. That's Debbie Harry, the iconic queen of Blondie. Or better yet, that's my voice repeating what Debbie Harry said all those years ago, describing a night she says she almost became a victim of the serial killer Ted Bundy. But was it really him? The answer is way messier and undeniably creepier than you might think. Now, I'm about to unravel with you a story that's kept true crime enthusiasts and music fans arguing for decades. Picture New York City, 1972, a gritty, dangerous place. I mean, that's why Gotham from Batman is always based on this era of New York. Blondie hasn't blown up yet, they're just a whisper in the downtown scene. Debbie Harry is a broke singer trying to get home late one night. Her feet are killing her, and every cab is taken. It's late, it's cold, and she's desperate. Then a clean-cut guy in a small white car pulls over and offers her a ride. Debbie almost waves him off, but the agony in her feet wins, so she gets in. Seconds later, a sickening dread washes over her as she realizes the inside of the car has been stripped bare. There's no window cranks and no door handles. It was a rolling trap. It's well past 2 in the morning in the East Village and the streets are unusually quiet. Debbie has been trying to hail a cab for what feels like an eternity when the small white car appears. The driver is young with dark curly hair. He calls out with a polite smile, "Need a lift?" She hesitates, her gut screams no, but her tired mind, clouded by exhaustion and aching feet, takes over, so she gets in and the car is already moving. The door shuts with a metallic click, so she immediately feels that something is wrong. The air is hot and stuffy, so she reaches out for the window crank, but it's gone. Her fingers grope along the door panel for the handle, but that's also gone. The metal inside is weirdly smooth, as if someone had painstakingly removed any means of escape. Debbie's pulse hammers in her ears, the driver keeps both hands on the wheel, that polite, unnerving smile glued to his face. He asks where she lives, thinking fast she lies, hoping he'll take a well-lit route. Instead, he turns toward the shadowy warehouses by the river, where the streetlights are busted and the sidewalks are empty. That's when she knows if she doesn't do something now, she might not get another chance. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, she spots a tiny triangular vent window, the kind old cars had back in the day, cracked open just a sliver. She wedges a hand through the narrow gap, skin scraping painfully against the frame, and hooks 2 fingers around the outside door handle. The driver sees what she's doing and accelerates. She yanks hard, the door pops open, and without a second thought, she throws herself sideways out of the moving car. She lands hard on the asphalt, rolling awkwardly. Scrambling to her feet, knees bleeding, she bolts towards the nearest bodega lights, a beacon of safety. She doesn't dare look back, and for weeks every car backfiring sounds like a gunshot. She never files a police report, certain nobody would believe a wannabe rock chick. So, life moves on. Blondie finally forms, and by 1978 she's a global superstar. The memory recedes until she sees a mugshot on the news that makes it all come rushing back. Now, in January 1989, Ted Bundy was finally executed, and his face was suddenly everywhere. Newspapers, TV, the collective consciousness. Debbie's stomach knotted with a sickening recognition throughout those times. The dark hair, the chillingly cold eyes, it was him, the man from the car. She read about his methods, luring young women with feigned kindness and driving a Volkswagen Beetle, but some details didn't quite match. But the core of it felt terrifyingly familiar. She learned he was known for removing interior door handles to trap his victims. The modus operandi was the rolling trap, which was undeniably present in her own harrowing experience. But the timing also gnawed at her. Bundy had confessed to 30 homicides, but police believe the real number was far higher with large gaps in his timeline. Could he have slipped out to New York in 1972 before his known killing spree ramped up in the Pacific Northwest? Well, years later, she told the story publicly, careful with her own words. She couldn't swear it was him, but the chill she felt was identical to what survivors describe. As a result, the story exploded, and the headline soon became, "Debbie Harry survived Ted Bundy." Full stop. And that's where we need to slam on the brakes, because here is the major snag that criminologists and historians can't ignore. In 1972, the year of Debbie's encounter, Ted Bundy's confirmed movements place him squarely in Seattle. And that's a long way from New York City. He was stalking college campuses in Washington and Oregon. His first proven murder didn't occur until 1974. So there is zero credible evidence placing him in New York City during that period. Bundy's own confessions given right before his execution never once mentioned a trip to New York. Why would he withhold an attempted abduction in the biggest city in the country? A potential trophy in his horrific collection. It just doesn't fit with his pattern of post-capture grandiosity. Then there's the car. Bundy's infamous vehicle was a tan 1968 Volkswagen Beetle. Debbie, on the other hand, distinctly remembers a boxier white coupe. She even later admitted it didn't have the same dashboard as a VW. These are not minor details, they point to a fundamentally different vehicle and fundamentally different set of events. Bundy did remove his passenger seat, but there are no reports of him completely stripping the interior like in Debbie's story. So, if it wasn't Ted Bundy, then who was it? So, let's consider another possibility. A copycat. The 1970s saw the rise of what detectives call legacy offenders, criminals who study and imitate infamous killers like Bundy, amongst many others. Early reports on the Seattle Strangler had already been published, and the chilling details of the methods were seeping into public consciousness. It wouldn't have taken a criminal mastermind to read those accounts, yank out some door handles, and cruise the East Village for a victim. So there's historical precedent for this. A man named James Randall was arrested in Florida in 1975 for assaulting at least 9 women after trapping them inside his car. He chillingly claimed he learned the trick of removing the handles from that college boy out west, a clear reference to Bundy. Randall's case proves unequivocally that the technique of stripping a car's interior wasn't unique to Bundy. It was a dark innovation that could easily be adopted by any predator. Of course, there's no evidence that Randall was in New York either, so it's far more likely that Debbie Harry had a run-in with an unknown serial offender, a lone wolf, if you will, who never made the headlines, whose name is forever lost to history. And that possibility is almost scarier because it means a monster got away. Now, whether it was Bundy or not, the experience left its mark on Debbie Harry. In her memoir, Face It, she shrugs it off with characteristic toughness, but admits she became hyper-aware of exits. Her friends call it a quirk, but she calls it survival. Today, we have rideshare apps with license plates and GPS tracking, but the core lesson from Debbie's ordeals remains the same. Instinct is your first line of defense. If a car feels off, if the locks are engaged, if anything looks altered, don't get in. Trust that gut feeling, that split-second decision to override politeness in favour of safety is what saved Debbie Harry's life. She didn't become a statistic because she refused to be a victim. She found an exit and she took it. This story endures not just because of the celebrity connection, but because it taps into a universal fear. The harmless offender that can turn lethal in a heartbeat. So, did Debbie Harry really have a brush with Ted Bundy? The timeline is shaky, the car doesn't match, and Bundy never confessed to it. But here's the undeniable truth. Someone methodically stripped that car to make it a trap, and Debbie Harry's terror was absolutely real. Whether it was the infamous killer or an unknown monster, the lesson is the same. Trust that feeling on the back of your neck. Those goosebumps. Debbie's courage that night allowed her to escape, and she's been in control of her own story ever since. So, keen to know what you guys believe happened in this instance? Let me know, but for now, my name's Anthony from My Kinda Weird. Hope you guys turn up for the next Weird Stories video.